I'm Dustin with Nardini Fire Equipment. We do kitchen fire suppression systems, and we will be going over the Ansel R102 fire suppression system in the kitchen here at the school. This is your R102 fire suppression system main control head. So in your control box, you have your R102 fire suppression agent tanks. Each tank consists of 3 gallons of Anselex, which is made by Ansel. You have a carbon dioxide cartridge that actually discharges the system into the control head. The expellant lines will discharge the CO2 into the tanks, which in course will take that chemical and push it into your exhaust hood for your fire suppression system. Your control head is hooked up with fire alarm control and electrical control shutdowns. One switch will activate the fire alarm stating there is a fire in the kitchen, automatically discharge the horn strobes in the kitchen and the whole school, and if monitored, we'll call out to the fire department or your local HJ. Also, it will shut down the micro switches inside this control box. Will shut down your makeup air units. It will turn on your exhaust fan, and any power under the hood will shut down. Also in the control box, you have a mechanical gas valve plunger. So when that carbon dioxide discharges, it'll also run carbon dioxide through this copper tube into the plunger, which automatically shuts your mechanical gas valve. And from here, we'll move on to the components of the kitchen fire suppression system. One main component of your Ansel R102 is your manual pull. This is the manual activation for your fire suppression system that, in case there is a fire under the hood, can manually be operated. This will be your kitchen cook or your maintenance or anybody in the kitchen working can automatically fire the system off by pulling this pull. This is one of 2 activations to this fire suppression system. All manual pulls, as of code, have to be at 48 inches for handicap accessible, and they have to be on a means of egress, meaning they have to be to an exit, leaving the building to go outside. So as discussed previously, there's 2 ways of activation in the system. The manual pull is your first activation point. Your second is your automatic detection, as in this will automatically fire your fire suppression system. There is a fusible link that melts at a certain temperature. Each system and appliance has a specific detector over the top of the appliance. So you range from a 360 degree to a 500 degree temperature rating on the fusible link. In this case, this detector we're looking at right now is a 500 degree fusible link over a tilt skillet. So when the flame ignites and it gets to 500 degrees, the solder in this link will automatically separate and it will automatically discharge the fire suppression system. Each appliance in the fire suppression system has to have a fusible link per appliance. And then each exhaust duct has to have a fusible link. And it all determines on what appliance is under the hood on what temperature link you have. So some of your main components of your kitchen Ansel R102 system is your detection that we talked about. And then you have nozzles over, like we talked about, over each appliance has to have a specific nozzle. Each appliance has its own rating of nozzle by the size of the appliance, what it is for an appliance, whether it be a griddle, a fryer, a tilt skillet, as what this is. They all have different flow ratings. Every new nozzle comes with metal caps that will blow off when the chemical comes through. It blows the cap off. There's an O-ring on here that holds that nozzle cap on to keep it from building grease up inside your nozzles and plugging the nozzles. As we talked with detection, your automatic detection, you have your detection in the hood. That's a part of the system, one of your main components. Your fusible or your nozzles are all in swivels, so you can, if you move the appliance a little bit, we can move the nozzle without doing a lot of major work. R102 they have 2 options of either dedicated protection or full hood protection. This particular kitchen is dedicated protection. So if the customer would ever move an appliance, they would have to call Nardini or a company like us to come out, realign the nozzles to that specific appliance. Our R102 also has full hood protection, where you'll have, in this particular hood, you'll have probably 14 nozzles straight down the hood. They can take their appliances and move them anywhere they want without ever changing the nozzle. But with this, you can see there's only 6 nozzles total for appliance coverage. So that's telling me a specific appliance coverage. So if they take this tilt skillet and they move this down here, these nozzles need to move down here. Every hood has to have a UL listed hole penetration. So every time you puncture through this hood, there has to be a hood seal that has a grease barrier in between the stainless steel and the hole. It keeps the grease from going above the hood. It also prevents if that fire would ever get through a hole, it'll stop that fire from getting through that crease of a hole. Oxygen is a main source of fire. If there's oxygen, there's going to be fire. So if you get the fire out down here and you have a hole in the hood, it's going to pull that air and oxygen above the hood. So that's why your UL listed hole seals at any hood penetration are required by code. Moving forward, we'll talk about you have your mechanical gas valve. We talked previously in the control head, there's a plunger that automatically, when the system fires, the CO2 shuts off the mechanical gas valve and it kills all gas under the hood. When that's done, without resetting the head, you cannot turn your gas back on. Your mechanical gas valve in this location is hard to get to, but is above the ceiling. We can address that. We'll pull the tile out. I'll show you guys the mechanical gas valve. And previously stated, we're talking about your mechanical gas valve. So when the system activates, we talked about that copper line with the CO2 running through. This red triangle box, that's your mechanical gas valve. There are 2 kinds of gas valves, they're electrical and mechanical. This application has mechanical. Whenever I discuss and talk about mechanical, everything is driven by cable and pressure. So with the mechanical gas valve being cable driven, that plunger will take that CO2, push that mechanical cable, which in task closes this gas valve. One other key component to your kitchen system is your K-class hand portable fire extinguisher. Above here you'll see there's a placard. In case of appliance fire, use the extinguisher after fixed fire suppression system has been actuated. So what's that saying is, this has got the same chemical your R102 kitchen system does in it, but not to use it until the system is activated. With that, for the reasoning of that is, this is a wet agent, this extinguisher. With your fire suppression system, it kills your electrical, it kills your gas, and all your sources to fuel fire. This is backup, so if you have a reignite in a fryer, the grease is still hot, it could potentially reignite, start a fire. That's when you would come in behind the K-class to reshoot the chemical off on the fire suppression system. The K-class is treated just like any other fire extinguisher on how to use them. The method is called pass, pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So what you do is you would take the extinguisher out, you would pull this pin, you would take your nozzle, start the hose at the base of the fire, squeeze, and you just sweep it all the way back to the back of the fire. Your fire extinguishers need to be maintained on an annual basis. So once a year, they have to be inspected by a certified company, as a Nardini or another company similar to us. Every 5 years, this particular extinguisher, the K-class, or a wet agent fire extinguisher, has to be internally inspected every 5 years. That also has to be done by a certified company. Every 5 years, they take this, they dump the chemical out, they put it under pressure, and they check the pressure at 300 and some pounds of pressure to make sure the cylinder itself does not expand or crack. Your ABC dry chemical fire extinguisher, which you should have in the kitchen also, them are every 6 years, they have to be internally inspected. Same method though as use is pass, is pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. All right, to discuss the system itself on your everyday use, maintenance, cleanup of a discharge, we'll start out with the cleaning of your filter system. Above here in the hoods, you have your filters, your grease filters. They collect all your grease. These should be cleaned, determined on the use of your kitchen. You would have, if you have fryers, which this location does not have a fryer, and it's got a lot of grease producing appliance, the more grease, the more times you want to wash them. These can be washed through your commercial dishwashers or outside of the pressure washer. With that being said, your exhaust hood should be cleaned on at least a semi-annual basis. If there's a lot of grease, sometimes 3 times a year, sometimes once a year. That you want to get done by a professional hood cleaning company. They will come in, they'll clean your filters, your exhaust hoods on the roof, your whole hood system, and bring it all back up, and then that pleases your insurance companies, your HJs, the fire department, whoever's your HJ for that local area. Another part of the maintenance process is the fire suppression ANSEL system has to be serviced every 6 months by a certified company. What that detail is we come in every 6 months, we check your manual pull, we check your gas valve shutoffs, your electrical shutoffs, fire alarms, replace your detection every 6 months, your fusible links that we discussed. Then we're replaced every 6 months. Check the chemical in the tank for corrosion, separation. The ANSEL X is a salt-based chemical, so there are potential sometimes with that chemical separating. With the 6-month interval services, at 12 years, the R102 system needs to be hydrostatically tested, where we take the cylinders out, we dump the chemical out, we put them cylinders under pressure, and if they come back tested okay, we fill it with new chemical, new hoses, and reactivate the system. If there is an R102 system kitchen fire suppression discharge, the chemical is corrosive towards stainless steel if it's not cleaned up within 24 hours. All you need to do to clean up ANSEL X is hot, warm, soapy water. That's all you need. It's not toxic towards anybody. It could make you sick, but it will not kill you, as some people think. But it can be cleaned up with just hot, soapy water. If you would have a fryer in your kitchen and you have a discharge, you have to discard the grease in that fryer. It won't boil out, the chemical won't boil out and think it's good to go. You have to just get rid of the grease and proceed with cleanup. If the system is discharged, it's to call, you need to call your service company, the certified company. They'll come out, we hang bags over all the nozzles, we put a live cartridge in, we fill the tanks with a chemical solution that we run through the pipes. Because I had said previously the chemical is corrosive. So with our systems, it's usually Schedule 40 black pipe, and that chemical will eat that pipe away, so we don't get that flushed out. You would potentially be putting in a whole new system worth of pipe network. So 24-hour response time for a discharge. So if you guys were cooking and you went home that night and it went off, next morning would be fine. But getting it done as soon as possible saves a lot of stuff to do. The maintenance on these are pretty, for a customer, the maintenance is pretty low. There's not a lot a customer has to do with the kitchen system itself. The filters are mainly the only concern for the customer of cleaning them filters. The maintenance on the fire suppression is just being in contact with your service company to come out every 6 months to take care of that. And that should do it.